Send it out to them. Their chefs are laughing their butts off, you know? But it's up to you what you learn and how your standards. You know, in settling for things, when I ran my kitchens, vegetarian wasn't an option. It was mandatory. Every banquet would come up with some kind of vegetarian dish for the night. And fruit, whatever it was going to be, it had to be at the same level of the food we were serving, same type of presentation. So we joked a bit about the reading, the science and stuff, and you know, I know this is the internet age, and Twitter and all that stuff, but you know, we're not tweeting the stuff made recipes today or procedures. Reading hasn't gone out of style, guys. And you can research on the net. That's, you know, I love it. I mean, I do a ton of research. You can find out things. But studying really is understanding food, how it works, why it works. This salmon dish to the left. That's a salmon dish with choucroute. That was a very popular dish. One of the places I worked. Mustard sauce, carrots, potatoes, very German, Alsatian, very rustic. But it works with sauerkraut. Who ever heard of fish and sauerkraut? But it works because salmon is very fatty. Salmon's got a lot of flavor. It works with the kraut. I also was very fortunate when I apprenticed in France. There was a German chef trained in France who actually had a restaurant, and it was called choucroute. And basically, it was all fish. In the right corner, about 3 lines, and it said, if you must. There was lamb, there was an entrecote of beef, and I think a chicken. It was fish. But all his fish was served with sauerkraut. From sole to shrimp to prawns. And I went back in the kitchen. I asked if I could work for a couple of days. And each container of sauerkraut was marked by the fish it went with. Because that's how it was fermented. The time it was fermented. The seasoning. The spice. Each one was to balance the fish that was being served. That's pretty cool. You know, you even had one with a slight vanilla tang in it. And I'm going back some years ago. I was in my 30s. You know, I was old. But even back then, because shellfish, lobster, prawns made sense with a touch of vanilla. So there was a touch of vanilla in that sauerkraut to mellow it out. So he studied for about a year or two before he opened the restaurant to get each kraut recipe down, to get each choucroute recipe matching the fish that he was serving. You know, amazing. You know, so a lot of stuff was done by a lot of great chefs. Nothing's new. Fusion cuisine, at its origin, was really people forced to cook with ingredients they didn't understand. When Spain came in and took over Mexico, beat the crap out of them, then generals wanted to eat, and there's all these Mexican cooks sitting there. You know, there's no cuatro taco in those days. I think John had one of those, but John left already. But you had an indigenous product brought in from Spain on the ships, or brought over, handed to these cooks. Now cook tonight. Oh, okay, that's cool. You know, they knew how to cook one way. They knew their ingredients. They now had these new ingredients. That was fusion in its original natural form. Forcing people to cook with product they never heard and trying to marry it with how they cook, number one, and the flavors of their country. And a lot of countries don't get a respect. I mean, when you look at Mexico, God, chocolate. You know, just their sauces, mole. Anybody have a really good mole sauce? I mean, you got to give a country credit. It takes 16, 18 ingredients in one sauce to make it taste good. You know, that's so, you know, study countries, study global cuisine, study why things happen, where they happened. It's really cool. You'll find out a lot. But at the same time, never forget where good food comes from. Simplicity. This picture here, this is in Germany, and that was Frankfurt. At Christmas time, they do. Germans do Christmas probably better than anybody in the world. You know, you go to each part of Germany, the Christmas villages, hand-painted ornaments, beer drinking. I don't drink beer, but tons of beer drinking. Shops and food everywhere. This thing here was on a sawhorse, a cast iron sawhorse. That big rake you see coming down was on a pulley. Wood fire underneath, so what he would do is just take that pulley and lower the grill, rise the grill depending on the heat. So, bratwurst, hot dogs, sausages, pork necks. Unbelievable. We ordered everything. We just said 2, 3 of everything. Grab the bench, crusty rolls, mustard, beer, I had water. But something so simple was a meal we talked about it the next day. I took pictures. I took pictures every time I saw one of those. The fire, the meats made properly, the emulsion of the sausages. Something as simple as apple pie never goes out of fashion. You may modernize it, you may do something cool, but it doesn't go out of fashion. That's the foundation of it, no matter what you do. And always a chef. So that little arm there with the tattoo, that's mine. Little secret, I got that when I was 30. I got it when I was a little of age, in my wild days. I wasn't, actually this year, it wasn't too much. Chef. It's part of me for life. Cook, chef, people, the master chef nonsense. Meats can't make consomme. My bad days, it means can't make crab. I have bad days, but food really is just about farming. You're in such a great industry, such a great craft, because when you look at technology today, how it's taken over everything. And yeah, there's technology in food, but there's technology to help us cook. There's still nobody back here with arms coming down, dropping the egg, those eggs out, dropping the eggs, taking the eggs out of the water. We still take food from the land, the sea. The good thing is food's getting more responsible. Chefs are demanding more responsible food. Farmers are now being a little more happy to appreciate what they're doing. The farm-raised chickens, lamb, that's unbelievable, the evolution now coming on. In Chicago, it's almost uncool now if you don't buy natural or organic. And so whether you're doing it for politics, PR, but you got to do it because it's the right thing to do. Why are you getting fruit from friggin' Chile? Seriously? Do we care about their economic situation? I don't. I care about the farmers here. I want food raised here, bought here, shipped to me. I want food in season. I don't want stuff. The largest importer of kiwis right now, guess what country is the largest importer of kiwis in the U.S.? Italy. I don't say this one proudly. The largest importers of kiwis. And guess what happens by the time those kiwis get here? Guess how old they are? Over 2 weeks old. We're eating food 2 to 3 weeks friggin' old. Coming from other countries, sold fresh. Fresh what? Fresh off the friggin' boat? Fresh to me, man. Fresh, it's 24 hours before you at my door. That's fresh. That's what I'm eating. We got to wise up, and you guys especially, you young people, coming up. You have to demand, you have to drive it that way. You have an incredible education opportunity. And I'm not, I know some days it probably stinks. Some days you probably leave, leave that friggin' place. Days you love it. That's life. It's going to happen no matter where you are, what you do. But you have so many months here. Don't lose what you have. Take advantage of everything. Take advantage of everybody you see. I had an incredible lunch today, and I'm serious. So, one thing about me is what it is. Good, bad, and indifferent. I get in trouble all the time. I remember doing a big thing at Kendall College. That was before I joined the court. Corporate chef McDonald's comes up to me. He was in the audience. Chef, please do me a favor. And I know him. And I know McDonald's. He goes, whatever you do, don't say anything bad about my company, please, my vice president's for me. So I'm just going to thank you. Because I had this big slide from a presentation he came to a couple of days ago that had Ronald McDonald being accosted by 2 police officers for poisoning and serving the worst food in America. Because, the salad nonsense, buy the apple chips is all well and good. The fact of life is, the burgers and french fries that keep the company going. It's not healthy. It's not real. It's not, we have to make changes in our life. Why do Europeans, why are they in better health? Do they just eat less than us? They eat pretty good. France, they freaking eat. They eat a big lunch. They eat lunch like we had today. But it's fresh food. Everything we had today, cooked fresh, natural. They exercise. They work hard. They walk. It's just a different environment. But they appreciate food. If you ever get a chance, go overseas. And I know some people don't like to leave home anymore. They want to leave St. Louis or Wichita. One of the 50 states.